what's some advice that you would give to these young girls that, maybe on a regional team or maybe on a Samba or Tango team that want to play Copa, ECNL, whatnot? What kind of advice would you give them? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 4 of the Jimmy and Kyle Show. As always, my much shorter, much older, and slightly more handsome co-host, Jimmy McAlister.
Hey, I just wanted to say to all you guys, I know it's a tough time, and we're doing things that we don't do. We become impatient. Take, for example, Kyle. When I was a young man just about ready to get married, I thought a smart thing to do would go out and get a permanent, and I had kind of a mullet. And I got it turned into a permanent. My thought was, hair grows back. What the heck? But what I didn't count on was pictures and video. And my kids look at the video 40 years ago when I got married, and they see me with a perm and a mullet. So don't get impatient and chop your hair off like Kyle did, because people can take pictures and it can be used as evidence. So I know we can't go to the barber and we can't get haircuts and we can't do all the things that we usually like to do, but don't become impatient and cut your hair off. You'll live with it for the rest of your life. Kyle has a lot of young kids and they'll be abusing their dad for years to come. So be patient. Let's hold on for a while here, guys.
Well, Jimmy, at some point you run out of things to do with those young kids. So actually, I let them cut it. So I had to go back and clean it up a little bit.
Shockingly, I can't believe that.
All right, guys. Today we've got Rich Reece, our girls coaching director and ECNL director, part of the show. Rich, how you doing?
Very good, very good. Excited to be on such a show on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We've also got 2 current players with us. We've got Deanna Montero, who is a Geo4 ECNL player. She was all ECNL selection down in Houston, Texas. She was in an all Pac Northwest Conference selection as well. And she's been the Washington EPD Girls 04 leading scorer and second team All Wesco this year. Deanna, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. And last but not least, we have Izzy Manning, who joins us from Geo2 ECNL. She has been a 2-time All Pac Northwest Conference selection in the ECNL, a first-team All Wesco in high school, and she is committed to play at Montana State Billings this fall. How you doing, Izzy?
Good.
Good. So before we get into the show, guys, we're going to do our segment, Show Us What You Got. First up, we've got Gabe from Boys 07 Tango. Jimmy, I want you to take a look at this because what he does was better than yours.
Oh, that's
Wait a minute.
Hey.
I'm not sure that's possible, Kyle.
I don't know. Let's watch it again. There you go.
See what he does.
Boom. Juggle. Throw it in the hoop.
Holy cow. That's
almost a no look.
I'm going to have to get back out there, Kyle. Not that I'm competitive, but, that was pretty cool. I don't know if I can pull that one off.
And next up, we've got Jackson Farrell from Boys 08 Copa. I remember when Jackson was 6 years old and joined this club. Now he's a veteran.
Kyle, this is just pure and simple bloodline right there. His dad was a great player as well.
He does have some good genetics.
This one. Runs in the family,
It does. It does.
The chip off the old block on that one.
I would say so.
I noticed both young ladies we have today on the show said they were doing fine. With all the accolades they've received, they're doing better than fine. Sounds like you 2 young ladies are doing very well for yourself. So that's pretty awesome. All this, all that. I mean, I wish I could talk like that, but that's pretty awesome for sure.
Thank you.
So, Rich, let's start with you. Give us a recap of the girls' side of the club this past year, the Premier side, the ECNL, everything that has gone on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's been a slightly indifferent spring. But the fall was very good. Our younger teams have, just grown in leaps and bounds. They're one, developing absolutely fantastic players, but secondly, they're sitting, right at the top of the pile in their divisions in showing both individual growth and team growth, which is exciting, and certainly leads to an exciting future as they develop through the program. Once we stepped into the winter segment of things, the high school girls came back. It's been a very good winter period for the RCL with the high school girls. Right from our Tango to Copa to ECNL teams, those juniors and seniors were getting college exposure at each one of those levels, which is very exciting. The ECNL, Izzy's team was fortunate enough to get in some early games by going down to Florida. And we were averaging 60, 70 coaches a game at that event, which was phenomenal. Their performance managed to get a couple of the girls picked up by Division I schools, even in their senior year. So it just shows that, everybody's timing is their own timing. It's never too early, it's never too late. With that, we then played a couple of conference games. Izzy's team is sitting, I think, in second place in conference right now, behind a team that's played 4 more games than us.
Awesome.
And then Deanna was very fortunate, along with her team, in the 05s and 03s to head down to Houston and played a great schedule down there. Deanna was selected out of the top 30 players within the 03 and 04 age group to play in a ECNL all-selection game, which was, crikey me, I mean, probably 2,000-3,000 people around the sides of the field watching the game. And
wow,
I would have said you were anything from 400 to 500 college coaches were at that game. I was fortunate enough to sit with a couple, and they all left with Deanna's name in their notebook. So that in itself was a really successful event, both individually and for the teams. And then obviously we pressed pause a little bit, and hopefully we can salvage a little bit of the summer. Yeah.
So not everybody knows what the ECNL is in the club, and obviously it's the top of it's the pinnacle of the pathway in the club. Rich, give us a little backstory on the ECNL, what the ECNL is about, and why it's so good for us as a club to be in it.
Yeah, so the ECNL stands for Elite Club National League, and it's a nationwide league. You play within regions. We have our own NOPAC Northwest division, and we filter in with the Northern Cal teams and Utah as well as Idaho. However, the league itself is built throughout the country. There's 96 clubs throughout the US that play in this. And it really is the pinnacle of youth soccer, in all fairness. I've been fortunate enough now to coach in it since the very beginning. I think it's in its 10th, maybe 12th year right now. And it has just produced so many collegiate players, so many women's national team players, and those who went on beyond that. What I really like about the ECNL is the aspect that it is coach-driven. It was a league that was made by a group of coaching directors dotted around the nation, and with the ESOFers, what do you need from youth soccer? What do your families, what do your players want? And they built a league based on that. So we're fortunate enough to be a part of that. Our players, I think, enjoy, 1, the competition, 2, the playing rules, and then 3, obviously the bonus for us, in massively for me, and particularly Izzy and Deanna, is they get to play club at the very highest level across the nation, but they also get to play high school with their peers. I think that's a great growth tool for these young ladies to be able to have the choice of both.
Hey, Rich, this is Jimmy. Hey, Rich,
yes.
Going back to the games and the scouts, what would be the mix of scouts? Are they all Division I scouts, or is there a good mix of Division I, 2, and 3? What does that look like when a young lady gets to play in a tournament or showcase? What does it look like there?
Yeah, I mean it's everything. I mean you have from the cream of Division I schools to filtering down the Division I's, from the Power 5 schools to the Ivy League schools, to your other Division 1 schools, but you also have, a huge representation from Division 2, Division 3, NEIA schools, and in some areas, where junior college is powerful, I mean, when we played in Texas, there was junior college teams down there too. So every spectrum of collegiate soccer is covered at these games. And we're fortunate enough, we have players going to Division 1 all the way through Division 2, Division 3. And I don't think any player has been wrongly placed. They're all going to the schools that they want to go to for the correct reasons. With regards to soccer, location, and education. So it's really given them a great opportunities throughout.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, and I think one of the big benefits too is in the girls ECNL still being able to play high school soccer. I mean, I think that's, Izzy and Deanna can speak to that, but for me, I mean, high school soccer is a big component for those guys, socially and whatnot, at a very minimum.
Yeah, I mean, is played for me on a team when we didn't play high school, and then moved with me when we went to the ECNL route. And as you've seen, I mean, how great is it? She's, first team conference. I mean, these are different accolades that you get. I check in with teams at all ages throughout the high school season. And everybody's pumped, whether your high school team's killing it or whether they're not. It's still a different. It's a different environment, and they're building different friendships and seeing different experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Rich, with your obviously ties to college game around the country, which are pretty extensive, what other benefits, do we get at trainings and local games and whatnot with your ties?
Yeah, I mean, we've been fortunate, and obviously I certainly lean on my network to open up opportunities for the kids throughout every level. But we've also been blessed with that of actually having some very good coaches. I mean, we have coaches who have coached within the collegiate game that are now coaching within our club. Yeah. So the network for our players is just growing. And with that, it's rare that we'll go through a week where we don't have a college coach in for a visit to watch training. They'll come at 5:00. They'll watch those 2 to 4 teams in that first time slot. They'll stay for the second session and repeat that. And that's not just for ECNL. I mean, we currently have numerous of our corporate players and our composite players who have been identified via those training sessions that the college coaches have been to. So, I think that's one thing that has certainly helped with the profile of the club, and whether that's me leaning on my network a little bit. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much you lean on your network. If you don't have the quality, they won't come more than once. And the thing there's a lot of repeat visits from schools, and that's all down to the level of players that we have, and that's coming through the development of the club. I mean, as Izzy can attest, she's been there from pretty much the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah, when you aggregate the player pool, the coaching pool, and then the networking, I mean, that's checking all the boxes right there and giving players every opportunity.
It's really exciting to be able to play in front of scouts as well. I played in the over 60 national championships last year, and there was one scout there watching us. I think he was from UW Medical. But it gets you pumped up when you're playing for scouts and you might, get a scholarship to Evergreen Wash Shelley Funeral Home or something. It's a great deal, So.
Now, Jimmy, did that scout have what's called an AED on him?
You had to sign a waiver when I played that you knew what the ADDs were.
Yeah, so I think he was scouting for something else.
I thought you were going to tell me it was somebody's grandson. I thought, all right.
Yeah, it could have been. It could have been, but enough about me.
Funny. Izzy, let's start with you. You've been in the club since U11. What has your experience been like in the club, starting at a young age and coming through this pathway all the way through to the end?
Well, I mean, I've always stuck with the club throughout the years because of the positive environment, and especially with our team right now with Rich and stuff. We Rich understands that we are high school students and that we want to have that high school experience, but we also like hold like our teammates accountable, and like when we have practice it's really intense. Oh, sorry, my dog.
That's all right.
But as I was saying, we hold each other accountable, and I know like all my teammates put in work on and off the field, and throughout the years it's always been like that. Every coach I've had with the program like cares about the players and cares about, and like it wants us to go to college, and it like is making sure that we're staying like proactive on college, and that we're gonna go somewhere where we can see ourselves for the next 4 years.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite moments from playing?
Well, I was on Copa when I first started, U11 and stuff, and for U12 we won state cup, and that was probably the like that was when it like state cup was just it, and that was
Who was your coach?
George.
George Singh. Perfect.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was fun. That was good. What's another moment? Probably when I guess this was when it was rain, but we were still connected. But when we beat Crossfire, that's
always fun, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be pretty exciting too to be named 2-time All-Pac Northwest Conference selection as well. That's that's a pretty neat thing.
And you go to Shoreline, are we correct? You go to Shoreline?
I go to Shorecrest, yeah. Shorecrest.
Oh, Shorecrest. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make that. But Shorecrest. Who's your coach?
It's okay.
Who's your coach at
Mindy
Shorecrest?
Dalziel. She coaches for
fantastic. Yeah.
Fantastic. Mindy's great.
Yeah.
Fun. So, Deanna, you joined us last year.
Yes.
What was it about Seattle United that attracted you here and made you want to come here and play?
Well, I've always heard really good things about the club, like how the coaches are always pushing the players to be the best that they can be, like on and off the field. And I really like how everyone is supportive of each other, and like how Izzy said, there's like the environment is really positive here, and like you always feel welcome, and it's just a great place to be now that I'm here, and I really enjoy it.
Good.
Deanna, you've had a little bit different exposure because you've been fortunate enough to play with the olders, train with the olders, and I think, as Izzy is one of the captains on that team, I think they do hold you to a high level, but they also make you part of the family, the community.
Yeah. They always push me to try and get better, and it's something I really enjoy.
What's been your favorite moment from the year?
Definitely playing in the ECNL national selection game. It was such a different experience. Like there was a lot of people there watching, so it was just really fun to be part of it.
You know what? How was that feeling when you're out there and there's 2,000 people watching you play, and you're used to having mom and dad and maybe a little brother or something? How was it to jump from that to 2,000 people?
It was, I don't know, it was just super exciting. I was so excited to play because it was totally different, like how you said. And it was like a totally different feeling.
Sure is, yeah. That's awesome. What year are you in school?
I'm a sophomore.
So have you even thought about college or what you'd like to do? Do you want to carry your career through college or what? I know you're a little bit young for that, but what's your ambitions?
I definitely want to play college soccer. That's been a dream of mine for a while now, and I've been thinking about it. So, yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
There'll certainly be a good list of schools once we're at the right time to turn our attention to that. Deanna will certainly not have any shortage of options and people pulling at her. That's for sure.
Izzy, I'll ask you this.
That's another bit of pressure, isn't it, Rich? You're on the other side. You're on the recruiting side. It's really tough when you got people coming at you from all different angles to try to make a proper decision. And there's a lot of pressure on these kids, isn't there?
There is, and Iz has been through it, and she's been through slightly different experiences to some, but also what's becoming a little bit more, commonplace in the game with how fast recruiting goes. Iz was going to go to a school out on the East Coast. There was a big coaching change there, so she actually is now sort of recycled to another school that I think is a perfect fit. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, and maybe Iz can chat about it, is you have to enjoy the process. I mean, I think the one thing that we do well within the club is we support you through the process. We'll help guide you through the process for real life, not for our own acknowledgements of we got a kid in this school. We want to get the kid the opportunity to go to the correct school for that player. So when Deanna's ready, we'll start rolling those lists out. But right now, it's about enjoying, one, playing soccer, one, being a teenager, and two, we'll help guide that process as it starts to get a little bit more stressful, and make sure it's a once-in-a-lifetime enjoyable period, because you don't get recruited when you're 22 or in your 60s.
Wait a minute now. Hey, Deanna, what do you feel your strengths on the field are? Give us an idea how you play and what you think that you do well and what you could improve upon.
I feel like I really like to get on the ball, and I try to go at players. And I always try to be creative, and I try to have I try to be different from everyone else on the field. And some of my, I think I could also improve on maybe being more vocal on the field, being more of a leader maybe on the field instead of being so quiet sometimes.
So, Deanna, what would you tell the young ladies that are in the club right now, the 9, 10, 11-year-olds that are looking to, be a player like you? What kind of advice would you give them?
I would tell them to just work hard always and never give up on what you want to achieve, and always just keep working hard and just keep going, just to follow and achieve what you want to, and just follow your dreams.
Yeah. Izzy, what about you? What kind of advice would you give these young ladies?
I would say to keep working. It gets hard sometimes, and there's been times where I'm like, oh my gosh, I do not want to go to practice today.
What?
But it
What?
always. Oh.
I've never felt that way.
Once you get all suited up and you get out there and you start you get to chat with all your teammates that you don't see every day, and you just start running and start working, it makes it all worth it, and you're always in a better mood right after the practice. So just keep working.
What's your time management like? Obviously, you're a high-level soccer player. You have to go to Florida on trips and whatnot, or get to go to Florida on trips. How do you balance the school, the soccer, and everything else, social life? Yeah,
well, basically, for trips like that, what I try to do is on the way to the trip, I'll do all my homework on the flight, because Florida, that's a 7-hour flight. So I try to get all my homework done in that flight, and then when I'm there, I don't have to stress about that. It can all be about getting the job done in soccer and everything. And on the way back, I can sleep. And then for when we just have practices and stuff, it's usually I try to do my homework before practice, go to practice so I can focus, and I'm not stressing about that during practice. And then social life, it comes and it goes.
What interests me, ladies, is I'd like to start a question and ask Izzy first. If you could pick anybody that you could talk to in the game, or who your favorite player is anywhere in the world, who would that favorite player be, and why?
Oh, wow. I don't know. I've always been a big fan of Carly Lloyd. She plays my position, and she's just she's the player I've just always wanted to be. She just is such a beast. And yeah, if I could talk to her, that'd be amazing.
That's awesome. And you?
I think I would choose Kristen Press. We both play similar positions, the forward and the midfield, and I love her work rate and how she's always working and never giving up. So I would really like to talk to her.
Cool. That's awesome.
Those are two pretty good examples of people you'd like to speak to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jimmy, let me ask you, because I left you out a couple weeks ago. Who's your favorite player?
Well, it's not Paul Pogba, I can tell you that. He doesn't play enough games. I think my favorite player all time would be a little bit in the past, but it'd probably be George Best. who was an Irish player that I got the luxury to play with. I played against Johan Cruyff. I played against Pele. But I got to see George Best up front and personal at training every day when he showed up. And it was something to watch when you see somebody just freewheeling and having fun, how good they actually are. And it was very impressive. You know?
Yeah. Rich, as the girls director and someone that oversees all the teams there, what's some advice that you would give to these young girls that, you know, maybe on a regional team or maybe on Samba or Tango team that want to play Copa, ECNL, whatnot? What kind of advice would you give them?
You know, it's a little twofold. One, you know, and it's kind of is made the reference with social, like social comes and goes, and you know, we had Emily Boyd on here the other week, and she talked about sacrifices. She felt like she didn't make any; she just made choices. She didn't feel as if she sacrificed a social life because her choice and her want was to do that additional training session, to touch the ball, to get out there. So her joy came from basically following her own passion rather than maybe a little bit of peer pressure. So I think that's important as you come through, as you strive to move up the programs and so forth, is really, you know, are you enjoying buying in and pushing and moving through? But at the same time, that work has to be done diligently. And we had a young man called Spencer Ritchie on the interview today, and he was great. He said, you know, and I firmly believe in this. And you know, I was fortunate enough to coach Spencer when he was very young and watch him move up. And he wasn't on the A team to begin with. And his big thing was I always had belief in myself. Even when I made a mistake or I didn't get the selection I was hoping to get, and maybe other people's faith or belief in me wasn't there, mine was there. And with that, he bought into himself and his work rate. And I think that's the same with the girls. As you want to move up, you have to, one, enjoy it, and two, believe in your own ability. Because it is timing. You know, I mean, you know, Jimmy may see a different player to what I see, you know, and neither's right nor wrong. It's just at that moment, you'll get your opportunity in the right time. But just, you know, being open-minded and working hard and putting yourself in the right spot.
Yeah.
Kyle, I agree with Rich. It's not as much a sacrifice, but it's a commitment to be a good player. And I signed professionally right out of high school. And socially, I was nowhere near ready to play at that level and deal with guys that are 30, 33 years old. I was 17, 18 years old. But the commitment was always there. And obviously, I had a long way to go. And by the grace of God, you make it or you don't. And there's a lot of great players that don't make it at all. I mean, because they don't have the stick-to-itness or the commitment to be a good player. I believe everybody has the ability to do things, but you have to be committed to what you want to do. And whether you're a young lady playing up in a tougher environment or you're a young gentleman playing, you know, at an early age in the professional league, that commitment has to be there. And if you really love what you're doing, it's not a sacrifice. It's just being committed. You know?
Yeah, and if you have that commitment, you will go out and you'll get your touches on the ball. You'll do the work on your own. You'll research the game, study the game, and the technical, tactical parts will come. But without the commitment, those things are a lot harder to come by as you get older.
And you can't be given that by anybody. It's ingrained. I mean, I've seen competitors and players that it's just ingrained. My mom and dad can't make me want to do it. I have to want to do it myself. And Rich had to want to get to where he is. Izzy or whoever, or Deanna, you have to have that commitment yourself to be able to, whatever you do, whether it's in your professional career, whether it's a soccer player, an accountant, a lawyer, whatever, you have to have the commitment to want to be the best. And that's why I firmly believe that people hire athletes, because athletes have to overcome challenges. And if anybody that's successful says they've never had a challenge in life, they're lying to you. We all have our challenges. We all have our great times. We have our down times. And I think that's what athletics can bring out in people.
Yeah. Rich, anything else you want to talk about with the girls' side of the program?
No, I mean, what excites me about the girls' program right now is just, you know, I was fortunate enough to come in 2 years to a very strong program. You know, and we've been fortunate enough to take the ECNL and have it as our own program. So we work within our own parameters and within our own club. And it's players like Deanna, it's players like Izzy, you know, who are the backbone of what we're doing. And I think that shines down to our youngers. You know, our 05 team, you know, is very successful with a lot of great players on there, and they look up to these guys as the role models, the 06 team and so forth. And I'm lucky enough that I have my daughter plays in the 08, you know, and she's in a great environment. She's on the tango team and loves it. So I get to be a parent at some weekends. And the nice thing for me is the positivity that I hear from other players and parents on what the club means to the community. And that for me is massive, because then we're growing. Yeah. But we're growing for all the right reasons. And along the way, we're getting to produce great young players, but also great young ladies. You know, and that for me is the win-win that we're doing here.
Yeah. Jimmy, any last thoughts?
No, I just think that the girls' programs with the ECNL has grown in leaps and bounds. A lot of that has to do with Rich coming across and being the leader of that group. I see the younger teams like, you know, and I don't want the 09 team, the 10s, the 08s. It's just fantastic stuff to watch. We have players that from when we started 10 years ago to today, it amazes me. Yeah. Some of the little boys and girls we have in the club, how good they really are. Left foot, right foot, technique. It's just fun for me to go to out to what do you call it, the little field there in Madison Park and
McGilvra
and watch the kids play. There's some really, really good soccer. It's not just trying to get the ball up the field and get it in goal. There's some special players, and that's fantastic to be able to work with. It's just fun for me to see, you know.
Yeah, and I think, you know, on the back of that, with us being invited in and being part of the ECNL, which has been a huge success for us, is you look at our younger programs. You know, Kyle obviously has the 2009s, which is a very successful team, but this year, you know, our 2010s, our 2009s, and our 2008, and both boys and the girls were all invited into Supercopa, which is an event that started around the nation, but it's invite only. I mean, it's truly the elite of the elite from U13 down. I think it is U13 down. Is that right?
12 down, yeah.
12 down. 12 down. And we had a team in every age group, and we were, you know, we're the only team, I believe, in this region with such. You know, to have 6 teams there. You know, so I mean, it's not just the player accolades; it's now the recognition that the club is getting throughout all of the ages, which again is very exciting to be part of.
And from a management standpoint, I would like to say we've got to be real careful of what the younger kids' coaches do with their hair, because we don't want to scare the little kids away. So I would say, Kyle, we got to get a hat, or we got to get something.
Well, we'll find out tomorrow on some Zoom meetings what they think about it.
To them, you know, take the hat off slowly. Don't expose it all at once. Oh, my gosh.
Well, Izzy, Deanna, thanks so much for joining us. Izzy, good luck at Montana State Billings. Deanna,
thank you.
We'll see you again soon on the field. Rich, thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.
Great job, guys. It's really fun watching you guys play and watching you.
Absolutely. And you guys can find the show now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and of course, YouTube TV. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.